This is Pretty Farm Girl, family-owned and operated natural skincare brand. We scaled our ad spend from 500 a day to 5,000 a day, and it took us exactly 141 days. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how we did that, but also why Pretty Farm Girl was ready for this growth. I'm going to break it down into a few categories. First, we're going to talk about the brand and the product. Then I'm going to show you the before and after of the Facebook ad account. We're also going to look at the front-end offers and the pages that we're using to drive this traffic to. And then I'm going to break down the best performing ad creatives and copy variations. Pretty Farm Girl reached out to us at the end of 2024. They have been in business since 2018, so they already had quite a few years in business under their belt, and they absolutely were able to grow the business. And something that they really focused on in those first 6 years was building their social media followers. And I think that set a very, very good foundation for Pretty Farm Girl because they already had over 300,000 followers on Instagram. And I think that's already where their team was extraordinarily good at, was producing social content and actually really high quality content. So their marketing focus over those first 6 years has mostly been on content marketing. So the question was, when we came in, can we scale this up actually with paid advertising? So they sell a wide variety of natural skincare products, and they have a few ingredients that really stands out, which is the usage of tallow. So for example, they have a fragrance-free tallow and honey cream for sensitive skin. They have a face cream here as well. They have a vanilla bean and tallow whipped body butter, and you can see here they also have a milk soap. Now, something that's important to understand, because Pretty Farm Girl grew extraordinarily fast, was that beef tallow or tallow really gained a lot of popularity starting in 2024. And that absolutely helped growing the company so fast and also helped us scale ad spend so fast, because the number one thing is that advertising is acceleration. A broken offer cannot be fixed by driving more traffic. Right? We cannot fix a broken offer. We cannot fix broken pages. If people don't actually want what our clients are selling, advertising is not going to fix that. So the fact that they already had a really strong organic following and that tallow since 2024 has gained a lot of popularity just in general as an ingredient in society really makes this that the combination of these things really set them up for success. But this is really important, and maybe even the most important thing of today's video is that advertising is acceleration. We cannot fix a broken offer. Now, when I speak to a potential new client, one of the things that I look at is the back-end metrics. So really the money in, money out. How much was spent on advertising and how much new customer revenue was coming in. Of course, I look at the trajectory of growth, just the overall business revenue and the ad spend, but I really tend to focus, if they're interested in paid traffic as a service, what's happening with the new customer revenue. And what I saw in 2024 is that if you look at their total ad spend and their new customer revenue, and if you divide the total of new customer revenue by what they spent on advertising, they had a new customer ROAS of 5.15. So for every dollar that they spent on acquisition of new customers, they made more than 5. Now, this is really high. Generally, for most of our customers, if they have a subscription-based service, meaning people have to refill over a certain amount of time, that number is anywhere between a 0.8 and a 1.5, I would say. So the fact that Pretty Farm Girl had a 5.15 already really stood out to me. Their paid traffic campaigns were heavily underutilized. So obviously, just because the fact that they already got a lot of new customers through their content marketing, that drove this number really up. But when I saw this, then I was like, hey, listen, this is such a high number that probably if we can come in, we can really do a lot of cool stuff and drive growth. Now, the second thing that I look at is the customer value. Now, this is a report that you can find in Shopify. So if you're an e-commerce business, you're on Shopify, this is very interesting to look at. If you're not an e-commerce business, it doesn't matter. Right? The point is exactly the same, which means that we want to see what a customer value is over time. So the moment that I acquire a customer, do they actually come back? Like, what is my customer lifetime value? Or in this case, what's the value of a customer in their first 12 months? So under the analytics tab you have in Shopify, you can already see this. And I saw that the value of a customer in 2023, if you look at the blended numbers, the first order was 69. And if you look at month 11, it was 163. So the value of a customer almost tripled in 12 months. Now, again, this is also pretty high. What do we see generally in subscription-based businesses? Anywhere between, let's say, a 1.5 and a 2.5. So they were absolutely on the higher end of this. Now, this is really important because if you focus on these two things that I just discussed, what is the new customer ROAS? That is really important because the question that we are asking ourselves, can we acquire customers with positive cash flow? Meaning, if I spend $1, what do I make right away? Obviously, this is really important because if I make less, if I lose money on the first customer acquisition, which by the way, which is what a lot of the bigger brands can do, you do need to have the cash in the bank in order to sustain that. Because let's say if you start breaking even on month 3, 6, or 9, you obviously need the cash to bridge that gap. So in their case, they were actually already making quite a few dollars on the first purchase because remember, their new customer ROAS was a 5. So we spend $1 and we make 5. Obviously, that is cash flow positive. And then the second thing is, what happens with the 12-month customer value? Do people actually come back? Now, for most businesses, it's almost always the case that it is one of these two, meaning that a lot of subscription-based businesses, they have a great retention rate, so the customer value is really strong, but they generally lose a bit of money on the first purchase. For businesses that are non-subscription-based businesses, it's very often the other way around. So you make already money on the first order, but then your retention is not very strong. And it has nothing to do necessarily with the quality of the product. It can also just be the nature of the product. For example, if you sell wallets, you're probably not going to have a very high 12-month value. But if you sell a subscription, like for example, supplements or skincare, people are probably going to come back, assuming that your product is really good, so your 12-month customer value is going to be high. So in the wallet example, you generally make money on the first purchase and not as much on the retention on the 12-month customer value. It can still be a really good and profitable business. And with subscription businesses, very often the other way around. Now, in Pretty Farm Girl scenario, it was both, right? So we were making quite a lot of money already on the first purchase, and people are going to come back multiple times in the first year. So that is a win-win scenario. So just with that context, I already was pretty confident that if we could come in and scale up the ad spend, we probably would have a winning formula. So now let's look at the ad account structure they had before working with us. This is a snapshot of the ad account in 2024. So what you can see is that their ad spend in early 2024 was around 10,000 a month. And at the end of 2024, it was around 43,000. And we saw in November, obviously, Q4 is generally a bit higher ad spend, 56,000 a month in ad spend. Now, but if we look at the purchase ROAS, and this is the attributed ROAS by Facebook, the ROAS went from a 0.08 to a 4.5. Very, very big difference. And you see that kind of like halfway throughout the year, it basically started to change. They went from no ROAS actually in March to 1.35, and then in May to a 2, in June to 1.5, and then they started to flip into the 2x ROAS and higher. Now, actually, fun fact, around this time, they actually started doing one of our old mentorship programs, which was Train My Traffic Person, but that's not the point. They started to implement basically the way that we run accounts through our education and the trainings that we have as Smart Marketer. So this is really good context for me when I look at this, because then I'm like, okay, something has really started to work, let's say mid-year. Now, when you open up the ad account, which is what I did here, and I sorted it on ad spend, we're looking at January to December 2024 again, and we're going to sort the campaigns based on spend. And what you can see that there's this new sales campaign for Castor and Tallow that spent the most, and the cost per purchase was really low. So again, that tells me that the cost per purchase, and probably with a fairly high ROAS, that people really enjoy these products and that they're already getting fairly good CPAs. Now, something else that really stood out, that they spent a significant amount, almost $27,000 on a traffic campaign. So this is what I did, right? I just went through the ad account. So what is the ad account structure? What has it been in 2024? And a few things stood out. They were using a traffic objective. They were combining different front-end offers in the same campaign. Overall, we were just seeing that there was like, hey, there's a lot of potential because we're seeing some high ROAS numbers, so some low CPA numbers, but the ad account is pretty underutilized. And if you zoom in on that first campaign, which was a tallow and castor oil campaign, we really saw, hey, these $12, $13, $11 CPAs with a 7x return on ad spend. Now, obviously, the fact that an ads manager says that it is a 7x ROAS doesn't mean necessarily it is a 7x ROAS, but the new customer ROAS that I spoke about earlier is a back-end number. It's the total new customer revenue from Shopify divided by whatever is spent on advertising. So I always try to verify what am I seeing in the ads manager and what's actually happening in money in, money out backend, whether that's Shopify, whether that's WooCommerce, whether it doesn't really matter what you're on. This also does not only apply to e-commerce at all. Verifying your numbers in the ads manager with a backend, whether there's a CRM, whether it's Stripe, it doesn't matter, is really important. We generally like to use 3 things to actually make decisions in ad accounts and verify it. Is one, obviously we still look at the ads manager because attribution has become better again over the last 12 months. Then we look at the backend, like I just described, and then we often also use a third-party tracking tool to make day-to-day decisions. And it doesn't really matter which one you use, right? You can use Triple, you can use HighROAS, you can use Northbeam, but we like to use all those 3 things to actually make decisions day-to-day and make sure that those decisions are also correct with eventually the thing that's most important for the business owner, which is the backend, which is the bank account, which is the money in, money out. We now have seen the ad account structure, what it was. I've described basically what the backend numbers were, what they were doing, the fact that they actually were gaining a lot of traction and that tallow just was getting really popular. So we could really come in and blow this up in a positive way pretty fast. Now, this is the ad account structure like it is today. Much more organized. And there are a few things that I want to point out. First, as you remember, they spent $27,000, which was 10% of their budget in 2024, on traffic campaigns. Those things are out. We are not running any traffic campaigns. Well, maybe a tiny bit, maybe 1%. So 99% of the budget is going to sales campaigns. In 2025, I still see people make this mistake that they choose the wrong objective. And the question that I always ask is, what is your end objective? What is your end goal? Getting a lot of traffic to your website sounds nice to be like, hey, I need traffic. And then I'm like, no, you don't need traffic. You need conversions. All of our clients are bootstrapped, right? So you need an action that actually turns into revenue. Otherwise, it's very hard to stay bootstrapped and be profitable on that ad spend. What is that conversion? Is it a sale? If you're, for example, have e-commerce or you're selling a tripwire offer, or is it, for example, someone who applies to work with you and book a call? That is also a conversion, because if you know that, for example, 20% of your calls turn into customers, you can calculate what can I pay to actually generate a call, and then we're going back to what I said earlier, what's the value of a customer? And based with those numbers, you can actually calculate what you can spend to generate a call. Point being, we really want to go for conversions and we want to have the far majority of our campaigns actually optimizing for the action that actually is going to generate the cash. We are running mostly Advantage Plus shopping campaigns with a 1% existing customer cap. Now, Meta's AI has become much better over the last 12 to 24 months, I would say. So most of our ad accounts right now are mostly running on Advantage Plus shopping campaigns. Now, what you can also see, we're also running 2 CBO campaigns. So we do try other things as well. Sometimes we're still running a lot of ABO, a bit of interest, but we're generally, let's say in 80% of our accounts, we're mostly running Advantage Plus shopping campaigns. We're running some CBO and we're also running some ABO. Now, for the CBO campaigns, how do we set them up? Well, there are basically 2 ways how we generally set them up, which is either 3 big buckets of interest that we maybe have historically tried and we know that work, or we have 2 ad sets in the CBO, which is 1 big interest and a broad, pretty much an open ad set. Now, something that we also did for Pretty Farm Girl, what we do for all of our clients, is that we have one page or one offer per campaign. So if you go back in Pretty Farm Girl's ad account structure, this what's basically their best performing campaign historically was a caster and tallow. So what happened in the ad set, they had one ad set for tallow and one ad set for caster. So basically 2 different products. What we like to do is one page or offer per campaign. So we have, let's for example, at the top, we have a campaign going to the natural handmade collection page. That's one specific page. Then we have another campaign going to their Lush Lokes Botana oil. Then we have another campaign going to the Pure Tallow skincare landing page. And then we have another campaign going to the home page. So instead of squeezing those together, we split them out in separate campaigns. It's easier for us to keep an overview of what's going on. And it's generally also better for the algorithm to optimize, we find. Something that we also do is creative isolation. So let's say you have an Advantage Plus shopping campaign and you have 10 new creatives and you launch those new creatives, and Facebook shifts 95% of the budget to 2 creatives and maybe 70% to 1. You still have 8 creatives that Facebook said, hey, listen, these are not the best performance right now, but it doesn't mean that they won't work, especially if you have some secondary metrics that, look pretty good. For example, like your click-through rate's really strong. Your cost per click is really low. Maybe you even see a few sales or conversions coming through. We say, hey, we're going to test that in a separate Advantage Plus shopping campaign. And we call this creative isolation. So let's say from those 10 creatives, we're going to keep that campaign running. If it's performing well, we're going to grab creative 3 and 4 and 5 that we see are getting some traction, but are not really getting any substantial and significant reach, and we're going to take them out. We're going to grab the ad ideas, and we're going to put them in their own campaign. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to turn them off in the first campaign. We're just going to make sure that we're going to force some budget in a separate Advantage Plus shopping campaign going to those creatives, because the fact that they are not getting that much reach doesn't mean that they actually not can be high performing. So, in summary, what are we doing here? First, we're mostly running Advantage Plus shopping campaigns. We're testing a lot of creatives, obviously, in these campaigns. If the creatives are not getting if some creatives are not getting enough reach, we're taking them out. We're putting them in their own campaigns. If you're seeing good results with the Ads Manager, that obviously is fantastic and hopefully should be an indication that things are doing really well. But we want to make sure we verify that with the actual backend. So for our customers, we built out these tracking sheets, and these are automated for us, but I highly encourage you to actually have a similar tracking sheet, maybe customize it for your business to pull in backend numbers so that what you're seeing in the Ads Manager is actually also going on in the backend. So what you're seeing here, this is for March 2025. We pull in total ad spend. We pull in Facebook ad spend, Google ad spend. We pull in the platform, the Facebook platform ROAS, the Google platform ROAS, and then we calculate the new customer ROAS, the new customer CPA. So the new customer ROAS and new customer CPA are actually the total new customer revenue divided by the total ad spend that is going to new customers. New customer CPA obviously has a similar calculation, but the point here that we're trying to make is that for almost all of our customers, we have 1 or 2 KPIs that indicate business health. Generally, that's a blended ROAS for the business, and it's a number that tells us how good we're doing with the new customer acquisition. Especially if you have businesses that don't have such a high new customer ROAS, you want to make sure that you are either break even or have a bit of profit on the first order. So let's say you're spending $40 to acquire a customer, the average order value is 80, you have a 2x new customer ROAS. Now, if you have an average order value of 60, you have a 1.5. Now, if you have an average order value of 50, you have a 1.25. If your gross margins are 80%, and you're also having to pay something for shipping, right? At some point, there's going to be a tipping point where you're going to lose a bit of money on the first order. Again, that doesn't have to be necessarily bad, but we do want to know it, right? So that's why, in addition to the Ads Manager, we built out these tracking sheets that actually tells us what is going on with money in, money out, and specifically money in, money out for customer acquisition. Now we have 3 pages that we're running traffic to. We have a collection page with evergreen 10% off discount code. We're running ads to the home page and we're running ads to the product page. Now let's start with the collection page with the 10% off discount code. So this is a page specifically designed for customer acquisition, and we say 10% off natural, non-toxic handmade skincare. Now, some of you might be thinking, hey, this page doesn't look that good. And we're like, sure, but it doesn't matter if it's actually working and we're actually acquiring customers through it. So on this page, we are telling the story. It's a woman-owned family business based in the US. This is the family that is running it, really fantastic people that have created this. And then this is basically a collection of their best-selling products. And the best-selling products are basically at top of this page. And you can see that there we have a combination of products going here. And we found that obviously this is not the case for all of our customers, but for this specific brand, the collection page with the 10% off discount code is by far performing the best. Really good page. It breaks down the ingredients, it breaks down the benefits, and it gives a lot of social proof as well. Because they just have a lot of social proof, some customer videos and testimonials, and to be honest, that's basically it. It's not that complicated. At the top, we have a banner with the code. Fantastic page for customer acquisition, especially if you have quite a lot of SKUs. Homepage, well, obviously that speaks for itself, but the homepage is converting pretty well, actually. For most of our clients, that's not the case, by the way. Most homepages are not great vehicles for customer acquisition, but for Pretty Farm Girl, it is doing really well. I think it has to do with just how the page is organized. It's actually fairly similar to the collection page, right? So in this case, it's natural summer skincare, because right now we're in summer. We're displaying the bestsellers, we're displaying the promise, we're explaining more about the brand, and then this is basically their bestseller. The natural tallow body butter is selling very well. Few testimonials, some videos, again the story. That's basically it. Converting very, very well. And lastly, we're also running 2 normal product pages. Now, least effective of the 3 are the product pages, which is very interesting, but obviously just a standard product page. We find that selecting the subscribe and save as default is not the best thing you can do, actually. We find if you just pre-select the one-time purchase, that's the best for customer acquisition, but also again, fairly straightforward layout of a product page, but it's still converting and we are acquiring customers through this. So those were the 3 pages. Now let's take a look at the creatives. And I have to say, this is the strong suit of the Pretty Farm Girl team. They are very, very good at creating very good videos, very strong and on-brand images as well. Now, 80% of the ad spend is going to videos in this ad account. This is also not the case for all ad accounts. For them, it is. We also have it the other way around in some ad accounts, where 80% of the ad spend is going to statics. For them, 80% is going to videos, and we're going to look at the top 3. And that 20% is statics, and we're going to look at the 2 best performing statics as well. Now, there are 3 videos that are performing really well. We have a UGC with a voiceover. We have a packing that leads into a UGC with voiceover, and we have a face-to-camera UGC. And what we do after we find these super high performing creatives, we create a lot of variations of that concept. And that's generally how we scale up creative production. All right, now let's take a look at the first one, which is the UGC voiceover.
This is what clean skincare looks like. After every shower, I look forward to applying this Tallow Intensive Body Butter. It leaves my skin so hydrated and smooth throughout.
So right away demonstrating the product and basically describing the benefits of the product.
Tonight, Blue Beauty Face Cream, it's one of my favorites and it's the best selling. It calms, restores, and deeply moisturizes. I use it every morning and night in my skincare routine and it's been life-changing. Milk, honey tallow, and goat milk soak. It's fragrance-free and it's deeply nourishing and moisturizing. Perfect to include in your everyday shower.
All right, so this is the best performing creative that we have. Now let's take a look at the packing/voiceover video.
Reasons why Pretty Farm Girl is the only skincare brand I trust.
So the hook is basically the packing that Pretty Farm Girl does themselves, and then it moves into a voiceover UGC video.
1. They use just a few simple natural ingredients like tallow, honey, and olive oil. That's it. No hidden chemicals, no synthetic fragrances, just pure skincare. 2. Every product is handcrafted in small batches. That means they actually care about what goes into each jar automatically. Unlike those mass-produced skincare brands that are all about quantity and not quality. And 3, it actually works. Whether you're dealing with dryness, redness, or sensitive
All right, so here we're putting in a before and after as well.
skin, Pretty Farm Girl gives you real results without the guesswork. So if you've been looking for natural skincare that's clean, simple, and actually delivers, this is it. Pretty Farm Girl is a game changer.
All right, now let's take a look at the last video, which is the face-to-camera UGC video.
Hey guys, I just got home from the gym and I had a package waiting for me. I'm so excited. I ordered this. It's the Tallow and Honey Cream Moisturizer and I got it from Pretty Farm Girl. I love their website. I've always been a fan of tallow. It's so moisturizing and so healthy for your skin. And if you don't know what it is, I'll post it on the next slide. But oh my gosh, it's like, can you see? It's like whip. It literally feels like whipped cream. Oh my gosh. It's so moisturizing. My face feels buttery, soft. I am obsessed with this. I have really dry skin and I've already been pretty open. I have psoriasis and this is just amazing.
All right, so you wouldn't say like that these creatives are necessarily anything like crazy or special. But what we just have to do is we have to test a lot. Then we find a few creatives that win. And again, then we start creating a lot of variations of these. But one of these creatives can really, really completely transform a business. We have seen multiple times. Now let's take a look at the statics. There are 2 statics that are getting the majority of the ad spend. One of them is the product benefit static, and the other one I call just the product display. So this is just a fairly straightforward, simple static with the jar, and then we see the benefits on the site. If you go to ai.smartmarketer.com and you sign up for a free account, I've created a prompt that will allow you just to copy and paste the prompt, put it in ChatGPT, and basically recreate this product for your own products if you have indeed are selling products, physical products. So what you can do, if you go to the meta image ad generator products benefits, you can fill out on the right just your brand name, your tagline, the headline, and then the 5 benefits that you want displayed. Then you copy the prompt and then you put it into ChatGPT with your own product image, and then it will automatically create a very similar image for you that you can test for your Facebook ads too. The second static that is performing really well is I call the product display, which is, to be honest, fairly simple, but it's contextually relevant for Pretty Farm Girl, which is from farm to skin, your most natural skincare, 100% natural, made with organic beef tallow, 0% chemicals, and made in the USA. In the back we have cows, and then there is the product image. So these 5 creatives right now are carrying the ad account. Now we know that over time, obviously ad fatigue will start to kick in. So we have to make sure that we're doing 2 things. First, we're creating a lot of variations of these winning concepts. And secondly, we also have to keep testing new creative variations and see if we can find new concepts that can actually get the account to the next level. Now, lastly, let's talk about the ad copy. And there are, again, 2 pieces of ad copy that are basically doing the majority of the heavy lifting. The first one is, did you know most skincare products are packed with over 30 unnecessary chemicals and fillers? These additives do little for your skin and may even cause irritation or dryness. So we're basically talking about a fact. Then we're also going to explain the problem of this fact. And then we say, hey, we are the solution to this. So Pretty Farm Girl believes in a better way. Our products are made with just a few farm-sourced ingredients that work together to deliver deep hydration, soothing relief, and radiant glow. No hidden chemicals, synthetic fragrances, or fillers. Only ingredients that your skin will love. Then we say, hey, grass-fed tallow, raw honey, organic olive oil. Perfect for sensitive skin, and we're basically giving a call to action, and this is going to the homepage. Now, the other one that we see works very well across multiple different industries is just the customer testimonial. So you do 1 or 2 customer testimonials, and then you basically take the same body copy like we had with the other ad copy as well. Now, the key here is that the customer testimonial has to be very specific. So in this case, say, hey, my skin has never felt this good. It's soft, hydrated, and no longer irritated. This cream is a lifesaver. So that's fairly specific. So if you do this, try to find a customer testimonial that is fairly specific, and then obviously just try a bunch. And if you're testing new ad copy variations, try to test it with your best performing creatives. And also the other way around. If you're testing new creatives, try to test it with proven ad copy variations so you actually know and understand what is working best. For Pretty Farm Girl, all of these things really came together. They had a strong social following already. They had already a very strong new customer ROAS and customer value. They had an underutilized ad account structure. So we came in, we obviously optimized that. We split it out for every offer. We had its own campaign. We had creative isolation. We're testing CBO as well. Then we're verifying, as we're increasing ad spend, we're verifying it with the backend to make sure that our client is staying cash flow positive. And then what we're doing, we're finding the best performing creatives. And one tip that I would like to give you today is look at the history of your ad account. Maybe there are still some old creatives that you can use again, maybe edit it so that it kind of looks and feels new. But there's very often a lot of assets hidden in your business that you can use today again. And in this ad account, we have 80% of the ad spend going to videos. So what we do, we find the winners, we create a lot of variations of that, but we're also testing new concepts, and the same with the statics. And the ad copy that are working is the opening statement with a fact, and the testimonials with the ad copy body. That was it for today. I hope it was useful. I hope there are 1 or 2 things that you can use in your business as well. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.